Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Spooky Mountain. Happy to be here again, guys. You're with Steph and Jordi.
Hello, everyone.
Jordi's sounding nice and husky.
Oh, sexy
tonight.
Voice.
Yes, sexy and sick voice.
Yes. This is also why we skipped our episode last week, was because I was just a disgusting ball of snot and phlegm. And even though I sound like shit, I am much better.
Yeah. And we're so happy to hear that.
Oh, thank you. But thank you, everyone, for your patience. I'm so excited to be recording again.
Oh, my God. Ooh, sound like an Aussie bloke then for a second. Yeah, it feels good to be back. It's crazy. Even just taking 1 week off.
I know.
Kind of. That's all I'm thinking about every day. I'm like, I can't wait to record.
It's always a bit of a release doing a recording.
It is.
You know?
It fully is. I love it.
It's
What's your story? I don't even know what you're doing this week.
No, mine is it's like a lore. It's a piece of lore, like mythical lore, and it comes from Asia, different places in Asia, and it does somehow connect to a recent event.
Really?
That happened, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just a cute, well, it's not cute, but like, a fun bit of lore, which I don't think I've really done.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know if either of us have done.
No, not really anything like that.
No, we've done like, I guess, just like cryptids and...
Yeah, not really like a whole story about all that.
No,
stuff.
so well, that's a bit really different. Cool. What are you doing?
Yeah, so we're going up north to Alaska. We're going right into the wilderness.
Fuck yeah.
This story's really interesting. It is about like a particular location.
Okay.
And there's cryptids, there's ghosty stuff.
Cool.
It's just really fascinating, and murder as well. So it's got like a bit of everything.
Oh, I'm so excited for this.
I'm really excited to tell this story. This is like one of my favourite stories ever.
Oh, nice one. So you knew of this before you kind of started researching. Well, that's very fun because I'm pretty sure it was my last story was the Andrew Cooney Lake mystery. Which
it starts to sound off like when I'm going to start talking about it, it does sound a little bit similar. But it isn't at all. But it does sound like it.
I'm so excited for this. Yay. Well, it's going to be a fantastic return to Spooky Mountain.
Yes. And also, guys, if you would like to support what we do, check out our Patreon. We've got a Patreon. We've got exclusive videos, posts. We've got a private Discord group as well where we're on there every day talking the shit.
Just shooting the shit.
Otherwise, if you don't want to sign up, that's totally okay. We would love if you could just leave us a review or a rating on anything, that you're listening to us on. It helps people find the show.
Yep.
Yeah,
it helps us a lot. And, if you would like to connect with us, we are mainly active on Instagram and Facebook as well, but Instagram is mainly our jam. So if you want to give us a follow, and you could send us a message if you like, and just see what we're up to. We post social images every week relating to our stories and stuff like that. And we do also have our website, like our domain website, which has like a bunch of information on it as well.
Yeah, everything you need is pretty much on our website. But I mean, if you got a story, you want to say hi, you can leave us a voice message. We've got a speak pipe. Otherwise, you can just send us an email at spookymountainpodcast at gmail.com. And
speaking of speak pipe, we actually have a new speak pipe. So our last episode, we played our very first speak pipe from Anonymous. And if you haven't heard that, we recommend you go listen to that because it's a bit different. It's strange. Yeah. It's a bit strange, but fun. But we have a speak pipe from Alyssa. So thank you so much, Alyssa. And she actually has a really cool Instagram, and it's at AlyssaB_illustrations, and she makes really cool fiber art. So go check out that.
Sweet stuff on there. Yeah. So let's listen to the recording.
Hello, Jordi and Steph. This is Alyssa from Canada. calling in my best Aussie accent. I've been listening to your podcast all day, trying to get this right. And I think that's as far as I'm going with that, girls. Anyways, just wanted to say how much I love the podcast and wishing you both an amazing week. And I will continue working on my accent and call in with a story or two for you another time sometime soon. Okay, take care. Have a good week, girls. Bye.
Thank you so much. Seriously, the Aussie accent pressure is on for everyone.
Yeah.
That wasn't too bad.
I thought she did pretty good.
That really wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad. I've definitely heard worse than that. For sure.
Absolutely. I mean, we have a mess of an accent. It's just horrendous. It would be so hard to do. Like, even me trying to do South African or New Zealand, I can't even do.
I can't do Kiwi either.
Yeah.
Or
so
South
it's
African.
I can imagine that's how it would be for people to do the Australian accent. But, that wasn't too bad, Alyssa.
It was good.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, it was a good effort for sure. Thanks, Alyssa. And yeah, so SpeakPipe, if you don't know what that is, it's just a little message, voice message option that you can choose to leave us like a 60-second maximum message. So that's on our website if you want to do that, and we'll play on an episode.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
I think that's our housekeeping done.
That's the housekeeping.
Oh, I got to tell you about something that happened to me the other day.
Yeah.
Something a bit weird. So I was home alone in a rare moment of solitude. I was sitting on the lounge doing just like podcasting stuff on my laptop, and it was daytime. And yeah, no one home. The dog wasn't even home. Like,
oh, that's not a good sign.
No,
it was and the dog's not home.
Yeah,
okay.
It was just me on my laptop. Then in my peripherals, I see something moving, and I look over my laptop, and there's a fucking ball rolling across the room by itself.
What?
I just thought I'd add to the chronicles of what is now happening in my apparently haunted house.
So, like one of Panda's balls?
Yes. Yeah. It was one of her balls, and it was like a bigger kind of...
Like a soccer ball? Or
yeah. Exactly that size, like a soccer ball.
Oh my fucking God.
Yes. I need to get the fuck out of here.
You need to actually get out of it.
I need to leave.
It's just going to start like slowly upping the notch. And
Getting
then you'll be like, oh, you won't believe what happened this week. My dog had his legs chopped off.
Oh my God, Steph. Don't say that, but it's probably going to happen.
But this is what I'm talking about. This is what the horror movies are about.
I know.
You're screaming at the TV going, you got to move
Get out of there.
They're giving you warnings. You have to leave.
I know. But this is kind of what's been happening. It has been ramping up. Like, started off with nothing happening, and then suddenly little things were happening. And suddenly there's a fucking ball rolling across the house by itself. So
maybe it's doing it more because it knows that you're paying attention now.
Probably.
So it's like, oh, I'm liking this attention. Starting to show off a bit.
They have a crush on me. I don't mind that. It definitely doesn't feel bad, although I had the most awful dream the other day, and I know that people talking about their dreams is the most boring shit ever, so I'm not going to
I do it every morning to Dylan.
I can't help it either.
Me saying them to him, I'm like, I'm so sorry. That was so boring.
Boring. But this isn't a boring dream thing. It was basically just like I was dreaming about my house exactly as it was. It was almost like a lucid dream because I was in my room and it was nighttime.
Right.
And I was asleep in my room at nighttime. And I just had like this feeling of there was an entity there. There was this dark presence there. I could feel it, and I was trying to almost like escape it, but I couldn't move.
So kind of like sleep paralysis?
It was almost like sleep paralysis, but in my dream. I was definitely asleep.
That is so strange.
Strange, hey?
Yeah, I've never had anything like that.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I know. It's a bit icky, isn't it?
Yeah, that is really icky. We've got so many listeners that after a lot of our listener stories and Hatman and stuff, we had so many people like sending us emails and messages about like lots of creepy things that have happened to them. And I just want to encourage you guys, like no matter how small of a story you think it is or how
oh my God, tell
unimportant you think it is, like we've heard them. And I've been trying to encourage a lot of people like,
yes,
we want to hear that stuff.
Oh, we do.
Even if it's like, a few sentences or something. Like,
yeah.
it's so creepy. It's so cool.
And we just eat that shit up as well.
I love it. Yes.
Love it. Especially when it's like ghosty stuff or UFO stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I love anything weird. So literally
Anything
just
creepy.
time slips, weird orbs of light.
Yep.
You see a giant frogman running down the street, whatever it is.
That happens all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Frogman. Oh my God. So Steph recently got a tablet that she can do like illustrations on, and Steph did. I'm not sure. I don't think we've posted it. If we haven't,
no, we haven't yet. No, but I will. Yeah,
Steph did the most amazing frogman illustration, and he has a banging booty.
He does. I know. I really worked on the booty for a while, but I decided to give it cowboy boots because I really struggle drawing feet and hands. And I thought, could I get away with doing the boots on the hands? But I couldn't. So
no, it was perfect.
But yeah, I will post it because it's really funny. And God, fuck, this tablet is so fun. Because I got, the one with the pen. So I've just been drawing heaps of random stuff. So
no, there's definitely more illustrations that are going to be coming out, I think.
Let us know if you've got any like little ideas from our episodes, because we've had a few. I think we got the speed demon locked in.
Yes.
The Mothman with some speed dealer sunglasses on a razor scooter. I'm going to try and get that one done. I think that one would be so funny.
That's such a great idea.
Yeah. And then, that's all we've got so far. And then the Loveland Frogman, I was like, I'll just give it a go. See what it looks like.
And it turned out perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't have been any more perfect than how it turned out.
Thank God, Jordi. Thank you.
Well, should we get into it?
Okay.
Oh, God, I'm so excited for your story. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if you'll know what it is, but it's a, people that have seen the heading, you otherwise know it, or you have no idea what it is.
Okay, cool.
So, as I said before, we're heading up north to Alaska, and it's a beautiful, isolated part of the world that seems to have so much history and high strangeness. Every time I come across a story there, I don't know what it is about Alaska. It's very mysterious.
Yeah, some places are just like that, hey? Like just very charged areas,
Very thick in forest, and there's just always something weird going on.
Something happening, yeah.
So the location we are going to today, it's called Portlock, or also known as Port Chatham, which is on the Kenai Peninsula of the southern coast of Alaska, which has been home of the Alunic people for centuries. Portlock is not just a normal town, it's an abandoned town.
Ooh.
And it has a very short and strange history, which supposedly led all the residents to abandon the town.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, completely abandon them.
Cool.
So abandoned places are something us humans find very interesting, myself included. We've got YouTube channels, TV shows, movies, photographers that all explore these types of locations and wonder about the history that occurred there. Usually the reason for abandonment is due to factories closing down. That was the main reason for working there, or highways being built, natural disasters destroying the area, and so on. Portlock, however, does not fit into any of these categories, and that's why this is so fascinating. Portlock sits on the edge of the waters, as that is really the only place you can live on. The inland of the peninsula is all volcanic mountains that rise up so steeply it's impossible to live on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the terrain is filled with super thick, dense forests with large rocks, and doesn't have too many animals roaming around on the mountains either, because it's quite hard for them to live there. So near the outside along the water is where you would find anyone living along this area, as it tends to get quite flat along the water. In 1787, Captain Nathaniel Portlock of the Royal British Navy had come across this location in Alaska and officially gave it the name Portlock. It was not really inhabited or established until much later in the 1900s, when a cannery was built. As the place was abundant with salmon and sitting on very calm water, it almost seemed like the perfect place to set up there. They sent a fleet of fishing boats to start the town, with most of them being from the Russian Aleut people.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So most of them were actually who were working there.
Right.
This would have been the peak of the population. There was a chromite mine there. Just a bit further, there was the cannery, and also a boarding school set up for the children in the Kenai Peninsula. In 1921, they knew there was no slowing down for this village, so they built a post office.
Mm.
Everything was working well for the people living there. Abundant food, picturesque scenery, and a quiet lifestyle. Sounds perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unfortunately, only a couple decades later, the town would be completely empty and they would leave everything behind. With most abandoned communities, there were always a few stragglers that would still be okay living there, or people would slowly leave one by one.
Mm-hmm.
Here, they left overnight, only leaving the post office worker who felt obliged to stay, but later leaving on.
Wow, that's pretty serious if everyone just fucked off
Yes.
at the same time.
The same time, yep. So why did they all leave? Well, it's suspected that there is a dangerous creature lurking the area. So let's go back to 1905, where there are records of the cannery that say that all the native workers had evacuated the location due to something in the forest that was bothering the camp. They were convinced it was safe to return back to work the following year, but the reports did not stop. Some of these reports would mention a Sasquatch-like creature wandering around the town that would leave them feeling very uncomfortable.
Oh, it's a squatch.
It's a Scotchy.
Fun.
There was a gold miner who travelled into the mountains alone and would never be seen again.
Huh.
This would become very common, as many others would just completely disappear or would be found dead on the outskirts of town. Later on, dead bodies would be washed up on the shore, as when it rained, they would be pushed down the mountains into the lagoon.
Oh my fucking God, that's horrific.
Yeah, it's so messed up.
Oh, imagine it's like a landslide of bodies. Just
It really was.
down.
And this would already be a traumatic thing to experience, but they were not just dead, they were torn to shreds and were completely mutilated.
Why? Why were they mutilated?
It was noted in the reports that the wounds on these bodies were nothing like a bear attack and they had never seen anything like it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's so fucked up. Melania Helen Kell was a non-Wellick elder who was interviewed in 2009 as she was born in Port Chatham. Pork Chatham. That's so funny.
Pork Chatham.
Port Chatham in 1934. So she talked about her godfather, Andrew Camluck, who was a logger in Portlock. He was out working one day when someone hit him over the head with a heavy piece of logging equipment, which ended up killing him instantly.
Oh, no.
And this piece of equipment was so large, it was not possible for a human to actually pick it up on their own, let alone swing it up in the air to
Oh, my God.
kill someone.
It's a squatch.
Ugh. And also during this interview, Kel discusses why her parents and the other villagers had left the town. She said they no longer wanted to put up with the violent attacks of the Nantinaq. Now, this would be the first time we hear this word describe the creature in Port Chatham area. After a lot of research, it had been found to be part of the Chugach dialect and is used in the Kenai Peninsula. The word Nantinaq literally means those who steal people.
Oh, shit. And that's what it's doing.
Yes.
It's stealing people.
It's so terrifying. Kel would remember hearing about these creatures throughout her childhood, being warned not to go too far off the trails or get too close to the forest as she may never be seen again. The Bigfoot community have now tied the word Nantinaq to this town and the creature that is constantly there. So Kel would also say that not only was the Portlock haunted by this creature, it was also a very haunted location. The spirit of a woman was often seen coming out of the cliffs. She had a white face and long draped black clothes that would trail behind her on the ground. And then she would be always seen going back into the cliffs and disappearing.
Oh, no. I guess.
Which I hate.
Yeah, that's pretty spooky. I guess if a whole bunch of people have died there as well.
Yes.
Violently, then.
Yes.
That could lead to a haunted location, I guess.
Yes. I don't think there was much of. I don't think many of the. Yeah, I'm unsure. I couldn't find too much about the history and in regards of if there was any killing of the natives. I don't think there was in this instance.
Okay.
Not in this very particular peninsula. I think it was okay because it's quite large, the coastline.
So it's hard to kind of pinpoint
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely be wrong, but what I was looking up, I couldn't really find out why. Yeah, about if there was any history of ghosts being seen and where they were coming from, or if there was any history like that. So I don't know where that came from. We also have another story of a group of hunters traveling up into the mountains to hunt a moose. They encountered very large footprints longer than 18 inches and seemed to be following the moose they were also tracking. As they followed the tracks, they came to a small clearing where it looked like a fight had happened. They noticed the grass had been flattened and there was blood everywhere, indicating that one of them had been killed.
Fuck.
They then noticed the mysterious tracks they saw earlier were leaving this clearing and were heading up further into the foggy mountains. People in the town would also report trees being ripped out of the ground and being turned upside down and placed back down with the roots in the air.
Oh, that's a pretty haunting sight.
Yes.
Seeing a tree just totally uprooted.
Incredibly disturbing.
Yeah,
it's like the
very
early
disturbing.
1900s where there's no heavy machinery to do anything like that. Ugh. There is also another account from a man named Tom Larson. He was out one day chopping wood for his fish traps when he noticed a very large and hairy humanoid down on the beach. He quickly ran back home to get his rifle, and when he returned back, the creature was still there, and they just stared at each other. Larson said that the creature eventually turned around and walked back into the forest. He recalled not being able to explain why he never shot at it, and he just let it walk away.
Oh, you're lucky that it walked away because...
Very lucky. The stupidest thing you could do is try to kill one of those things.
Oh, yeah. Could probably take 5 bullets.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Anchorage Daily News released an article in 1973 interviewing a retired school teacher from Port Chatham during World War II. She would talk about the workers from the cannery going into the mountains to hunt for bears and sheep and never returning. Later, people would find their mutilated bodies washed up in the lagoon. This article also mentions a story about a man from Anchorage who wanted to stay anonymous, so let's call him Ed. In the 1990s, he was a paramedic in the city and was called to the state jail as a man was suffering a heart attack. He was a native Aleut man in his 70s. He used to live in Port Graham. So Port Graham is the north town of Portlock, and it's about 16 kilometres away.
Right, okay.
Or 10 miles away.
Okay, so relatively close.
Yeah, quite close, yeah. So while they were travelling in the ambulance, Ed and the man started talking about hunting, and then Ed mentioned that he had been to Dogfish Bay, which is south of the area that they lived in, over the mountain. So something that they'd both be familiar with. When the man heard Ed say this, he sat up very fast and grabbed Ed by the shirt and said, Did it bother you?
Oh.
And Ed replied, yes.
Oh, shit, they've both seen it.
Then the man said, did you see it? To which Ed replied, no, but my brother saw it. It chased him.
Oh, my God.
After Ed talks about this encounter with the man, he actually talks about what happened to him at Dogfish Bay. He said it was 1973 in August, and he was out bow hunting for goats and black bear with his two brothers. They were forced to find shelter as a large storm had hit the area, so they quickly set up their tent and made a fire and had something to eat and pretty much quickly went straight to bed. One of the brothers had woken up suddenly as he could hear heavy footsteps around the tent. It was currently 2 a.m. and the storm was still very heavy, so they just sat inside the tent and listened. It was clearly something with 2 feet and did not sound like a bear. Once the first night was over, Ed mentions they were all terrified of what happened, and especially as the storm was keeping them there for another 2 more nights. By the second night, they heard the same footsteps lurking around outside. They all got the courage to go out and have a look. They looked around with their torches, and there was nothing there, not even a footprint. Leading up to the third night, they all agreed when the creature comes back, they will run out there with their guns blazing. But nothing ends up happening. The next day, everything cleared up and they just went back home.
That's amazing that they didn't find, like, with such heavy footsteps, they didn't find any, footprints. But maybe
Nothing.
because it was raining or, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it said it was like a lightning and rain. So I guess that's a pretty good reason why there wouldn't be any
Footprints. Yeah. It's interesting. It definitely, because I know there's theories about, like Yowies and like Bigfoot and everything kind of having a part in the other dimension.
Yeah.
So I guess that could kind of lend itself to that a little bit.
Yeah. Because a lot of people claim to find just like one footprint and everything around it is the exact same,
Exactly the same.
type of mud or dirt. And it's like, how can there just be one? Or they'll see a set of tracks and it will just completely end
Disappear. Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Strange.
So,
Very strange.
yeah, it's super odd. I also found an article on AnchoragePress.com where Sally Ash was interviewed. Now, she was actually the interpreter for Kel, as they were cousins, so earlier on. Sally is of Russian Alouette descent and still speaks her native language. Her mother grew up in Dogfish Bay and the Port Chatham area, so had a lot to share about the Nantinak. They say that this Bigfoot creature is not just flesh and blood, but also supernatural.
There you go.
There you go. It has the ability to move very quickly through the dense forest without being seen and can vanish at any time.
Yes, this is stories that I've heard even from, Australia and the Yowie, is that, of course, something so big is going to move fast because it has a larger leg span, but apparently the speed is just incredible.
It's incredible, yeah, and to move
Almost
without
impossible.
making noise as well most of the
Exactly.
time, and it's just crazy. So now they also say that it's known that it can shapeshift. Quote, you can chase him, and suddenly he disappears behind a tree, and when you get close enough to see him, all you see is a shimmering little mouse.
Oh.
Shape-shifting. They would change into different animals, make you feel sad for them. They said don't touch them, just leave them alone.
Oh, that's so strange. It's very...
I think that's the first I've heard of a shape-shifting.
Shape-shifting.
Bigfoot. Yeah.
I guess if they're kind of like other... or
Interdimensional.
interdimensional and paranormal in that way, I guess that, could
Why
be
not?
a thing that they do. Yeah, why not?
She mentions there is no point trying to shoot or harm the Nantinak as they're so strong. Us humans could never do any damage to them.
Oh, that's scary.
There's no way. Yeah. They all know that it's in the area. They tread very carefully, trying to avoid it. They know it does not like to be around people, so they do not want to approach it at all. It is known that it is very strong and has a horrible stench. So you actually
yeah.
know when it's close by.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does. So we've heard this all the time. It's such a common thing all around the world.
The stink.
Very strong stench.
The stink is such a reoccurring thing.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Like, I mean, I've smelled some pretty filthy stuff, but I don't know.
I wonder why that is. Like, it makes me think that maybe because it's just out in the wilderness and needs a
they don't have
shower.
shampoo.
But
Yeah.
there's lots of animals in the wild that don't smell that bad, that never wash.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's
Not
filthy.
sure.
So there was actually a History Channel show called Hairy Man of Port Chatham where they were supposedly investigating this story. But one of the stars would later tell Sally that they didn't actually go to the area and they were at another location that looked similar. They staged wood knocks and tree breaks too. So this is actually something that they did. They were too afraid to go to this area.
They were too scared to go.
They were way too scared.
They didn't go.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are actually hardly any modern images of Portlock still to this day, as not many people have actually travelled there.
No one wants to go.
And look, it is in a very isolated part of the world, but you can still travel there by boat. And pretty much what you're expecting it to look like is not really what I thought. So when I first heard this story, I was like, oh, okay, I'm imagining like a town, a cannery, all this sort of thing. But when you actually see photos, there's no cannery. It's completely collapsed. Everything has been absolutely consumed by the wilderness.
Right. If it's surrounded by such dense wilderness, I guess that's what's going to happen.
It looks like it's hundreds of years since it's been abandoned.
Right.
Like it's crazy.
Okay.
Although there are still massive metal pieces of equipment that is still scattered around the area, but they're just completely rusted and grown over with everything. So it's very hard to kind of see like the little huts. There's like maybe 3 or 4 like little like huts that are still around.
Very interesting. And for a place that has such a interesting backstory for being abandoned, because like abandoned towns are tourist destinations everywhere, and this is such a unique one, so you would think that people, like, even if it is isolated, it is accessible, so you would think that people
are quite scared of it because you really are left to the elements there.
Yes.
You have no shelter there at all. So there is like a little documentary I watched that was actually came out this year where they spent 2 days. They had a boat offshore and they'd go on there for a couple of hours, but it's terrifying. Like there's bears and stuff and moose there,
it's just
but
wild.
they're all in the same area, so you've got to be very careful. It's very creepy. If you were to go there, it would be to experience the location and track the hairy man. Yeah. Because there's literally no shelter. So I guess the only reason you would literally go there is to try and find the hairy man.
Well, if everything else is just so grown over,
nothing else
you're not
there.
seeing anything else. And in kind of harder conditions, I guess.
Yeah, it would take a lot of convincing to get a team together. Because most Bigfoot researchers know about this story, but they're like terrified. They're just like, nah, I don't really, hearing mutilated bodies washed up in the waters, I'm good.
Oh, yeah, that's very unnerving.
Yeah, for sure. So when 1949 came around, the town decided to pack up and leave. So it was 1949 that it officially was like, nah.
That's it, had enough.
An area that has had incredibly rich resources was left completely abandoned. Was it due to the lady in the long black dress that could be seen lurking in the mountains? Was it about the mysterious disappearances and the mutilated bodies that kept getting washed up on the shore? Or was it the Nantinak that finally did his job at keeping Portlock to himself? This story has named Portlock as the creepiest town in Alaska, and with good reason. From hearing lots of stories from old residents and speaking to native elders, it almost seems clear as to why they left. But of course, there are people who believe that they did not leave due to a Bigfoot terrorizing the town. They left because in the 1940s, a road called Alaska Route 1 was completed. This road was built along the Kenai Peninsula that connected small towns in that area to Anchorage, the main city there. So therefore, there was no longer need to transport goods by ship.
Okay.
And they didn't need that little cannery anymore.
Right, there's more direct routes.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I can understand how that could happen, but it doesn't really make sense to me as how everyone left so fast at the exact same time, and they literally left everything behind as well.
A bit sus, yeah, pretty
Just
sus.
like all the belongings and stuff. And also along with all the stories we've heard
All the
about
stories.
Portlock and the Nantinak.
Oh, yeah, and the bodies and...
The bodies, there's a lots of little bits of history there.
Yep.
But I believe something happened out there for sure. I think it's
Yes.
so fucking weird.
It seems kind of dark, like very... like dark stories, I guess. Because,
Yes.
you hear of cryptids and stuff, and it's like, oh, yeah, like scary, but not necessarily dark. But this kind of seems that way a little bit. That's kind of my impression of it.
Yeah.
Just with the mutilations and, I don't know. It's just...
I don't know what else could do that and why people would make up stuff like that.
And, if it is real, why are they, like, deeply mutilating these bodies? Like, what is the point of that? Unless they're taking something from, like, some organs of some kind.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It seemed just like, maybe the Nantinak was just at first trying to warn them, keep an eye on them, and then was like, no, maybe they're destroying the forests, they're building things, and I want them gone. And
Get the fuck out.
Just snapped. So
Had enough.
fair enough to you.
Yeah,
Nantinak,
I mean, I get that. Some people can be pretty shit.
Absolutely, yeah. So they didn't last very long. So
No.
I think we need a few more Nantinaks running around and
maybe like
sort our shit out.
maybe they were stealing too many of his fish.
That's true. Apparently the salmon were amazing in the area.
Oh,
So
I love. You know what? I
love a
didn't
good salmon.
eat fish. I'm 31. I only started eating fish, only salmon, about 2 years ago.
No way.
Oh, and now I'm addicted. I fucking love salmon.
Salmon is the best fish on earth.
It's a raw salmon.
Oh,
It's the only way I can eat it. I can't eat cooked salmon.
how come? You don't like it?
Fish, I have some kind of weird phobia about eating seafood.
Interesting.
It's not even the taste, or it's just some weird psychological thing that I can't eat it. And it's funny.
Raw fish you can eat.
I
but not
know,
cooked. That
it's
is
so
strange.
weird. I went from not being able to eat it to only being able to eat
I
it
love
raw.
raw salmon as well.
It's
I love
delicious.
raw salmon.
Yeah. But what a fantastic story, Steph.
Thank you. Thank you.
I haven't heard it before. I love it. You did a really good job
It's
at
a
that.
little spooky, mysterious one.
Yes, but a lot of good information about the town and the people there and the history.
I love hearing lots of stories from everyone about that town. Yeah, because there's not much of a real time span on it. So.
No, it does seem to spread over different kind of timelines, Oh, I really like that one.
Cheers. I'm excited to hear your one now.
Yeah, mine is very lore-ish.
Hell yeah.
And even though... So I'm going to do lore. I'm going to do a story related to the lore. And then, as I said, like a recent event that happened. But the story that is related to the lore, apparently it is a true story.
Oh, wow.
Depending on which way you go for believability.
All right.
It has roots. It has roots in truth, which I'll elaborate in a little bit. So, yeah, I'm going to be talking about some Japanese lore, but this does also have its roots spread across a lot of the East Asian countries, such as China, Korea, Taiwan, as well as Vietnam and other surrounding countries as well.
Okay.
I'm going to go into the lore itself, as I said, and a story that is one of the most prominent and well-known stories connected to this piece of mythical history. And as I said, an event that was quite recent, as recent as this month, I think it was, that it happened. So I'm going to be talking about the Kitsune, which is also called the nine-tailed fox in English. Have you ever heard of this? Have you ever heard of the Kitsune or the nine-tailed fox?
No.
Oh, cool.
Never.
Okay.
No idea.
Oh, this is exciting then.
Cool. Oh, yeah. I have no idea what that is. Yeah, sounds like a Pokemon.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. You'll find out why later.
Okay, cool.
So in Japan, the word kitsune actually does translate to fox or fox spirit. But it is believed in Japan that the real fox within the animal kingdom is a creature that has otherworldly powers and is in fact a malevolent being that is out to get you and possibly consume you.
Oh, what the fuck?
So there really is no difference between a regular fox and a kitsune. They are one and the same. So the word for fox in the Japanese language is kitsune. Even just the fox that you see down the street, running down the road in the wild, is considered a kitsune. And like a lot of things within the Japanese culture, the longer that a kitsune lives, the more wise and powerful it becomes within its abilities. So
I like that.
yeah, that's a common theme throughout the Japanese culture. Aside from people, of course,
Yeah.
So if you see a very common single-tailed fox, this is a young and not so developed or not so powerful kitsune. As it grows older, it will grow more and more tails, eventually maybe even reaching its full potential as a nine-tailed fox. Though it will take a kitsune 100 years to be able to start growing its extra tails. And for a kitsune to reach its full potential and grow 9 tails, it would take 1,000 years, which explains why the 9-tailed kitsunes are the most powerful, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Holy
this
shit.
is, I guess, why they're seen as like wise, powerful, strong creatures, is because they just live forever. They become, super strong.
You'd hope to be wise after 1,000 years.
You'd bloody hope so.
Yeah.
Not just bitter.
Yeah.
And these 9-tailed foxes are considered as magical, spectral beings, almost godly. And something that also can be developed over the years of growing older, wiser, and more powerful is the ability for a kitsune to shapeshift. This can happen after 50 years of survival, and usually a kitsune's form of shapeshifting is a beautiful and young, seducing woman. It's not uncommon to discover that your wife is actually a kitsune, a fox in disguise who has an ulterior motive.
What the hell?
Yes, and this is
so
a
cool.
commonly believed thing,
Wow.
As well as seducing men into partnership for their own benefit, seducing holy monks and Buddhist priests is also a favourite on the to-do list of a kitsune. And this is also a way for a kitsune to acquire more tails by preying on innocent people and absorbing their energy and life force.
Oh, right.
Yes.
So they can do it that way.
They can do it that way. And this is the basic motive of a kitsune, is to gain more power and more energy, extending its life and abilities.
Okay.
Though, with saying that, women are also not safe from the kitsune. Even though she does favour men, she's really down to just swing with anyone. She's up for a good time no matter what. But the two experiences of men being with a kitsune and a woman being with a kitsune are vastly different.
Okay.
Men usually enjoy the experience, saying that it was one of the best nights of their lives, experiencing absolute physical bliss, while women tend to experience intense pain and are heard screaming and crying during their experience.
Oh, okay.
The woman...
That's sad.
It is sad, isn't it? I mean, it's a shame. The woman will wake up the next day extremely sore in the areas of her body where the kitsune has touched. And apparently the remedy for this post-shag pain is to boil buckwheat and apply it to the areas that you are experiencing the pain. So the shape-shifting, let's just touch on that a little bit. A kitsune can shape-shift into a man, a woman, or an inanimate object as well.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so teapots, teacups,
so cool.
anything you like, doors, whatever.
Yeah, that's so funny.
The ritual that must take place for a kitsune to shapeshift is that it must put a skull on its head, a bone in its mouth, then cover itself with leaves while facing the northern star.
No way.
Yes, it must do this 100 times perfectly, and then it will be able to transform. If you are a younger and less powerful kitsune, you are able to keep this shape-shifting form for only a short amount of time. But if you are an older and wiser kitsune, you are able to stay in this form for many, many years. So the visual of a kitsune with the skull on its head and bone in its mouth is extremely reminiscent of the Pokemon named Cubone, who has a skull on its head and it's also holding a big bone as well.
Exactly what I was thinking. I can't even get any other image out of my head except for Cubone.
I know, I'm so glad that you picked up on that. So the kitsune is seen really as like a malevolent trickster and sometimes as evil, and it's even seen as demonic at times. And this may come from the fact that it's known that a kitsune in times of desperation will actually possess the body of a human as opposed to just shape-shifting into a human. There are ways to tell if you've been possessed by a kitsune, and these symptoms are running naked while shouting through the streets, laying down on the ground while frothing at the mouth and yelping like a fox,
Oh my God.
suddenly being able to speak and understand languages that you've had no knowledge of before, stealing people's hair and hiding it, not allowing anyone to touch your armpits, and eating foods that are typically fox foods, which apparently a kitsune's favourite food is tofu.
Oh, I was going to say trash.
I know. I was thinking like leaves or something, but apparently tofu is
Tofu.
top of the
okay.
list.
Stealing people's hair and hiding it and touching armpits is
And I
funny.
know, it's so,
That's so
weird.
funny.
So if you were displaying these signs, it may just be that you are possessed by a kitsune. And to be possessed by a kitsune, at least in olden times, was a very serious thing that was even classified as a legitimate mental illness.
Whoa.
Yeah, and not meaning that you were considered delusional and you were hallucinating, but that yes, you have been possessed by a fox spirit and now you have a mental disorder due to the possession. With these possessions, often a kitsune exorcism would take place, and usually it would take place at an Inari shrine, which is kind of like a type of Shinto shrine.
Okay.
And ironically, Inari is actually the fox god of the religion as well,
Okay.
which is probably purposeful, I think.
Yeah.
Other ways of ridding yourself from a kitsune while it's possessing you is to rub fish oil all over your body and have a dog lick it off.
Oh.
Yes. Because apparently kitsunes are terrified of dogs.
Okay.
So just for the future, Steph.
Fish oil.
And then having a dog lick it
Yeah.
off. Fucking
Yeah,
hell.
yeah, true. I know I was thinking of
Double
rubbing fish oil on my
whammy.
body, but having a dog lick it off would be super weird.
Ugh, yep, yuck. Also, putting really smelly things underneath your nose, such as sulfur or poop,
Okay,
will
yep.
also drive away the kitsune in disgust. And one tactic that is on the more extreme side of things is to beat and burn the until the kitsune has released them.
Oh, okay.
So
I mean,
all these things are bad. I mean,
wow.
not
yeah.
a good time for a
I don't
victim
know. I
of the kitsune.
think I'd probably be beaten than have a dog lick fish
oil,
off me.
yeah.
I'd be like, just take me out.
Fucking beat me, daddy.
Let's do it.
So I'm going to go into one of the most well-known tales of a kitsune encounter. Mm-hmm. One day, a husband and a wife were taking a stroll through the woods when they found an abandoned baby on the ground who was crying and wailing. The couple picked up the baby and decided to take her in as their own, raising her to be a beautiful and intelligent child. The couple realised as the girl was growing up that she was quite special. She was smart, yes, but she also had a very quick wit and she learned very, very fast. She was able to read and write at an incredible level, and her intelligence was so striking that she eventually would be allowed to read poetry for the emperor in his temple.
Oh, shit. All right.
Yeah, she got it going on.
Big brain.
Yeah, big brains right here.
Big brain, baby.
The emperor immediately took a liking to the girl and he took her in as a servant of his court, which is a bit creepy,
Okay.
to be honest, because she's still quite young. So
Yes, yeah. Actually, you know what? You should just be a servant for me.
I'm just going to steal you away from your
Yeah.
parents and force you to work in
Yeah,
my
you don't
palace.
deserve a future.
No, you're a smart girl. You belong with me. So the girl's name was Tamamo no Mai, and she grew up to be extremely beautiful, still extremely smart, and she had the ability to charm the pants absolutely off anyone who met and spoke with her. Everyone adored her. Mothers compared their daughters to her. Men were enamored with her and wanted to be with her. And when the scholars at court tested her on her intelligence, she was always able to answer them with no hesitation correctly.
Right.
The emperor was absolutely entranced by Tamamo no Mai and pretty much spent all his spare time with her. He was so infatuated by her that he eventually made her his consort, and the two became inseparable, though not everything would stay this peachy. Not long after Tamamo no Mai was made consort, the emperor fell extremely ill. He grew sicker and weaker, and the royal doctors were stumped on what was happening to him. They would pray constantly over him, and nothing changed from the praying.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers only. Surprise, surprise.
Thoughts and prayers for the emperor, everyone.
Yeah. So things got so bad for the emperor that eventually a powerful sorcerer was located and sent to the royal to try and heal him. But again, despite all his might, nothing was changing. In fact, he was still just getting worse. More priests, more sorcerers were sent to his bedside, and more prayers were had, but alas, their magic was proving useless. It was soon discovered why all these efforts were fruitless. The emperor was cursed. He was under the control of his beloved consort, Tamamo no Mai.
Oh, I knew it.
Knew it.
Little sneaky woman.
Smart girl. She's smart. She must be a witch.
Yeah.
She knows how to read a book. But How could this be? The Emperor and everyone else exclaimed about the new revelation. How could someone so beautiful, charming, intelligent, and wise be preying on this man? It was decided that the best way to prove the truth and loyalty of this beloved woman was to perform a holy ritual and to have Tamamo no Mai participate. If she is using evil powers, she simply could not participate in the ritual. A clear sign that she's up to no good.
That's fair, yeah.
Fair enough. Tamamo no Mai tried her hardest to get out of participating in the ritual, but the courts and holy men would not allow this.
Yeah, I'm sick.
So she was forced to participate, and at first everything seemed to be going smoothly until something very strange happened. Suddenly, a big fluffy tail popped out of her behind, and then another tail,
What?
then another tail, until she had 9 tails sprouting from behind her. She was a kitsune, a 9-tailed kitsune.
Oh my god.
So Tamamo no Mai, the 9-tailed fox, had been using her powers to consume the life force from the Emperor. Now caught red-handed, Tamamo no Mai leapt from in front of the group of holy men and out the window and escaped into the surrounding mountains. The Emperor was heartbroken by this, so heartbroken that he ordered his soldiers to set out to find Tamamo no Mai and kill her.
No.
Because, you know, that's obviously the best thing to do when you're heartbroken, which not fragile at all. Bit of a snowflake.
Yeah. No.
The soldiers had a really hard time finding Tamamo no Mai. She was smart and cunning. But
Oh yeah. Good fucking luck.
yeah, well, they eventually caught up to her.
Oh fuck, okay.
But after much effort, they caught up to her, eventually shooting an arrow into her neck and killing her. When they killed her, the kitsune spirit travelled from her body and into a nearby stone boulder, trapping her there forever. This boulder would come to be known as Sesho Seki, or the Killing Stone, because the kitsune was so strong and powerful, anyone who touched the Killing Stone would instantly die. So it was forever left in the same place with nobody touching it, keeping Tamamo no Mai trapped along with it. Years later, a humble monk decided to visit the Killing Stone as he felt sorry for Tamamo no Mai. He wanted to hear her side of the story. And so, when he reached the stone and started talking to her, Tamamo no Mai poured her heart out to him. My dear monk, when my adoptive parents found me in the woods, I was already cursed to be a 9-tailed fox. It is likely why my previous parents abandoned me. I loved my new parents, and they loved me. One day, my father was framed for treason and exiled by the courts. It led to his death. Crushed by grief and thoughts of vengeance, I gave in to the fox within. The things I've done, the people I've killed, I regret it terribly. Please, merciful monk, unbind me from this stone and let my spirit enter the heavens. The monk was moved by Tamamo no Mai's words and decided to grant her request. He released her spirit from the stone, and even though her spirit was now gone, the evilness of the kitsune was still left within the stone,
Oh shit.
threatening those who dare to touch it.
Oh my god.
Yep. So now Tamamo no Mai is known to be one of the 3 most evil yokai that exists. And if anyone is not sure of what a yokai is basically what we in the Western world consider a spirit or an entity. and they can range from being harmonious to evil and malevolent. So a big reason that she's considered such an evil yokai is because not long after Tamamo no Mai was killed, the emperor passed away, and not long after his death, his son died. And the country then plunged into a horrific and bloody war, which is also attributed to the curse of the Kitsune. She's been forever since seen as powerful and evil. And so, just quickly, we know that this emperor existed, and we know that his consort existed, and we know that after she was murdered, or after she was killed by his soldiers, that he died and that his son died. So that is an actual part of history, and I guess they're kind of blaming this run of bad fortune on the consort that was killed, claiming that she was a Kitsune.
Wow, okay.
So it's an actual piece of history.
That's
in a
really
way.
cool.
Yeah. It's kind of like history mixed with lore.
Yeah.
So this stone, the Sesho Seki, or the Killing Stone, it still actually exists today, and many people go to visit it each year in Japan, still fearing what would happen if it were to be destroyed or touched. It's believed that if this boulder were to break open, a demon that has manifested from the evilness left behind from the Kitsune will be released into the world, causing chaos and destruction.
Fuck.
So many people visit the stone in Japan every year. Like,
Do they touch it?
no one touches it. You can't touch it because I
Yeah.
don't think you're allowed to touch it.
Okay, good. I'm glad that they don't let people
Touch it, yeah.
You're right.
And this is where it takes us to present day. It was found by people visiting the rock this year, in 2022, that the rock had mysteriously split open one day.
What the fuck?
Yes, they just came across it and it had randomly just split open. So the boulder...
Like a clean split?
Clean split
no.
down the middle.
No,
That's
not okay.
It's not okay. No, the boulder is now completely in two halves, and people are worried. The past few years have already held so much devastation. What more is now to come? There is no sign of any kind of damage other than the split down the middle. No sign of impact or foul play. No cause for this boulder to completely split in half. Let's hope that a 1,000-year-old demon was not just released, or maybe it is the reason that there is so much chaos in the world presently. So that's the story and the lore of the Kitsune and how it's linked up to present day.
That was amazing.
I'm glad
oh my
you liked
God.
it.
I'm terrified
I
now,
know.
because like every month for the past few years, everyone's going, how much worse can I get? How much worse can I get?
Next year
How
can't
much
be
worse
any
can I
worse.
get? Or fucking 1,000-year-old demon stones fucking cracked open.
How
Hectic.
crazy is that?
What? Like, what?
This boulder, like this stone, has existed for so long. Like even before modern times, people would visit it. It was kind of feared and revered almost.
Oh, yeah.
It's always been protected. And it just randomly split open because no one can touch it. No, I don't think anyone can
I'm
get
so
close.
glad they do that. Like,
I know.
you know, the Japanese are very sacred and spiritual, so they really, this is like their beliefs. So
absolutely.
I feel like it was in one of the, Western countries.
Oh my God.
They're just like, oh yeah, touch on the rock, see what happens.
There'd be graffiti all over it,
Yeah, there would be.
like
yeah,
carvings and shit. Yeah. So
what the fuck? I wonder if lightning like split it.
Could have been
That
lightning.
is so crazy.
I know. And just considering how crazy the world is at the moment and everything that's been happening.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh shit.
So it's literally been the past, couple months that's happened. So
Yes.
we're waiting on something to
waiting
happen.
on something to happen. Yep.
Okay.
So
that's-
God knows
Yeah.
what it could be.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I can't believe I picked out the Pokemon at the start of the story.
I had
just out of
I
nowhere.
know. Well, you know your Pokemon.
That's so funny. That was really cool.
Thank
I've
you.
never heard of any of that before. But
Yes, I have heard of the Kitsune because I am absolutely not claiming to be a furry at all, but the
oh God, watch
Kitsune
it. All right.
is a favorite of
Really?
the furries because
Oh, yes.
she's a bit
Okay.
sexy, sexual.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
seducing, cute, fluffy, foxy
Yes.
thing, you know. So
Yeah.
they
Foxes are,
fucking love the
you know.
Kitsune. Yeah, definitely a
That
favorite.
that makes sense. Oh my God, cool. All right. So that
Cool.
was great.
Two
I mean,
great
we've had these
stories.
stories just sitting in our
I know.
drive pages, like, can't wait
Just
till we
waiting to
tell
do
them.
it.
It feels
I
so
know.
good.
It was a banger, as we predicted. It was a banger.
As we fucking predicted.
Yeah,
that was great.
I hope that everyone enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing this episode so much. It feels great to kind of get back at it.
Yes. And I want to mention as well, if you aren't following on our social medias, we are doing our first live show,
Yes.
which is fucking crazy.
How did we forget to mention this in
I
the
know.
beginning?
I just remembered. I'm like, oh my God. So it's in the Blue Mountains. It's at a place called Spooky Hollow.
Spooky Hollow,
So
yeah.
definitely look on our Instagram and our Facebook.
Yeah.
It will be mentioned on there.
Yes, we will talk more about it. And Spooky Hollow, it's like a little event. Spooky Hollow is the event, and it's being held at 20 Mile Hollow Cafe in Woodford.
Yeah.
And I've been to the event before, listening to Bill Chalker talk, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's like a really intimate venue, so I think it's
Yes.
perfect for us to kind of, I guess, meet some of you, because I know that a lot of you do live in the Blue Mountains, so that would be really awesome to meet you. And, you know, if you want to travel to the Blue Mountains to come see us, that would be awesome
we would
as
love
well.
that so much. We're so excited to just meet people and talk some shit, tell spooky stories. Yeah, it's going to go for between 2 hours to 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So we'll try and keep it super interesting, and
Yeah,
it's going to
gonna
be
be
great.
really fun.
Yeah, very excited for that. But we'll talk more about that all
when we
throughout
get
the weeks
closer.
until it happens. So yeah, thank you to everyone listening. Thank you to our patrons for supporting us. We love you
guys
so
heaps.
much. And I guess we'll speak at you next week.
Yeah, we'll speak to you then.
Bye. This episode of Spooky Mountain was created and recorded on land of the original custodians, the Gundungurra and Bidjigal people. We pay respects to the past, present, and emerging mob. My name is Jordi, and I'm a proud Gunya woman. Thank you for listening.